Saturday, June 21st, saw another bout, a card headlined in the UK, where we had a chance to see flyweights and highly touted Yafai taking on Francisco Rodriguez Jr. This was supposed to be an opportunity for Yafai to get in a position for a world title shot, and he nearly pulled that off. But Francisco Rodriguez Jr. had something else to say about this. The WBC interim flyweight title was on the line, and this was a banger. Let's talk about what happened in this fight with Yafai and Rodriguez Jr. When Yafai returned to the ring on Saturday, June 21st, he returned to the ring for an opportunity at a world title. And the man that he faced, Francisco Rodriguez Jr., was a stellar test, because Yafai, who had defeated Sonny Edwards back in November of 2024 in his last bout, had applied the pressure on Edwards to the degree that not only was he victorious, but Edwards decided to retire after that loss. A former Olympian and gold medalist, Yafai is 32 years of age. And going into this bout with only 9 fights under his belt, he thought that a title would be a sure thing. But Rodriguez Jr. has something to say about that. And so we had quite an interesting matchup between these two. It was a battle for certain, but from the opening of the fight, we saw that Rodriguez decided to take the fight to Yafai, staggering him early in the bout, rocking him with power punches and being the assertive aggressor, the same way that, ironically, Yafai had attacked Sonny Edwards back in November. He wasn't able to stave off that aggression by Rodriguez. He tried to meet the aggression, and instead of boxing more intelligently, he was drawn into a fight that benefited his challenging opponent. But this is the funny thing. Even when there was an opportunity to make adjustments, he didn't do so. And so we saw the fact that Yafai found himself engaging in exchanges, but Rodriguez was stronger. And so all Yafai could do was clinch and hold. And ironically, the referee was not one to say much about it because Yafai was the home fighter. And we've talked about these officials asserting themselves. Referee Mark Bates, who has overseen a number of these fights out of the UK. By the way, this bout took place in Birmingham. He was downed in the 12th round. After his legs were totally gone, both boxers suffered cuts over their left eye from head clashes. This was a battle of, I want to say, intestinal fortitude. Galal, who refused to use his skills, tried to out-tough Rodriguez. And though these men are the same age, Rodriguez is way ahead of him when it comes down to the number of fights that he's had in his career. Now, after victory, he's 40-6 with one draw. Galal is 9-1. Both men entered this fight in a typical Southpaw versus Orthodox match, where Galal was the Southpaw. Both were 5'4". Both had Galal a 68-inch reach and Rodriguez Jr. 65. But the reach advantage never came into play because Rodriguez controlled the distance. He stayed from medium range to in close and inside. And Yafai did more of clinching and grabbing than warding off the attack and stopping Rodriguez with a jab from the outside. So as he worked, Rodriguez built up momentum. Yafai found himself fatigued, and in the later rounds his legs were giving out. That's what resulted in the knockdown in the 12th. There was always a chance for him to make an adjustment during this fight, and he didn't do that, which concerns me because it's not always about trying to show how tough you are. And I got the impression that's exactly what he was trying to do. But it wasn't working for him. And so he found himself at a severe disadvantage. Now, surprisingly, the judges' scorecards reflected the action exactly as it was. Scores of 119-108 twice and 118-109 saw Rodriguez in total driver's seat. Where does Galal Yafai go from here? Like I said, he's 32 years of age. And in the flyweight division, you're starting to become an old man by that time. A rematch maybe? That will be pretty much up to Rodriguez Jr. from Mexico. He may look to just get that title shot right away. Or if they lure him back to the UK, he can find himself in a rematch with Yafai. But everything is looking at the fact that both men were headed in different directions. This, on paper, looked to be a tough fight for Yafai, and it ended up being exactly that. And I spoke about the irony because it was the same way that he defeated Sonny Edwards, by being aggressive, taking the fight to Edwards, and asserting himself with volume and activity to the degree that Sonny just kind of caved in. And besides, Sonny is not a big puncher. Neither is Yafai, who found out that Rodriguez Jr. was the real puncher when they met up on Saturday. It was an interesting fight between the smaller guys in boxing, and I look to see more from either man. Mexico has a tremendous rivalry with the UK in boxing right now, especially in the lower weight divisions. So could we see another fight between these two? It would be a barn burner. But what do you think? This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about these flyweights, and should they face off again against one another. It'll be interesting. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.